Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Kind Heart Homestead. My name is Ben and I'm up here on our off-grid property in the mountains of Virginia. As some of you know from previous videos, we are interested in beekeeping, not just for the pollination aspects, but maybe we can get some honey eventually. Well, we bought a large surplus of secondhand beekeeping supplies, mainly bee boxes with some frames in them, but what it didn't come with was the deep frames for the deep hive boxes. In those hive boxes, based on my limited understanding, is that's for the reproduction of the bees. That's where they grow. That's where the brood exists. The eggs get carried into these little cells and then the bees develop. And it's the shallow boxes that are on the top that are used for honey, because honey gets really heavy and the deeper the box is, the heavier it's going to weigh. So our secondhand collection has those short frames with the foundation built in. What I'm going to build today is these deep frames. I bought the cheapest kits from Man Lake, which is just the wooden pieces, no hardware. I have separate boxes that actually come with the foundations. Because I'm new at this and I don't really know all of the criteria for storing wax foundations, I wanted to avoid the wax. So I'm using plastic foundations this time. And that way I can have extra ones and just keep them in the box until I need them. I'm also not sure how the bees are going to be packaged when we purchase our nucleus colonies. I got in touch with a beekeeper. He's had us in mind for overwintered colonies, which means they've survived the winter. And that's a bit more reassuring to me because I've heard that this winter in particular was a lot more brutal than usual. So if bees can survive this winter, assuming there's good pollination, hopefully they'll survive next winter, but there's no guarantee. What I mean by packaging is they're supposed to come with some frames, but I don't know how many. So I'm going to go ahead and put together 20 of these deep frames. You can fit 10 per box, but I'm not going to put the foundations in all of them. I'd rather keep the foundations in the box that they came in until I need them, but I'll just kind of scrape anything I can find off of the existing bee boxes and frames, and then I'm going to stock our brooding boxes with these new frames and foundations. So let's get started on that. So it's pretty obvious that I've never assembled honeybee frames before, because I've never actually had any hands-on experience with bees, but I do have a lot of carpentry experience, and I've used wood glue a lot for some smaller projects. So you can see I have a full gallon of wood glue here. Titebond is a pretty popular brand that they sell at all the home improvement stores. I also have my beginner air compressor kit, which I've never really had to expand because I don't actually use air tools that often. I'm putting one small nail, about 1.5 inches long, in each corner just to hold the wood glue as it dries, but the majority of the strength comes from the glue. You'll also notice that I'm using a speed square, which is about 1/4 inch too tall to fit comfortably inside of that frame, but I was still able to get it to work. I would recommend a bit of a smaller one, but you do want all the corners to be 90 degrees so the foundation fits and so that it fits in your bee boxes. And then after it's assembled, I just throw the frame in there. You have to bend it slightly to get it into the grooves, and it does sit in there pretty loose, but the honeybees will kind of glue everything together as they see fit and make everything tight and rigid. The whole point of this is just to have essentially a foundation for the honeybees to create their own network of honeycomb over. And that can either be for storing food or for raising brood. But here's a time lapse of me assembling the rest of them, and then Angie was nice enough to help me. Once you get one done, it's just a matter of repetition to complete the rest of them. And since I have all the beekeeping supplies out, including the hive tools, I decided to go ahead and scrape any of the residual wax off of our used components. And there's not really a real reason to do that because the bees are just going to put it right back. But I do want to get some exposure to how this tool works, how sharp it is, how easy it is or difficult to remove built-up beeswax. And I also wanted a smooth surface for my new frames to slide along. Right here is a close-up shot of the used frames. And since Angie was out helping me and she was nearby, I asked her for one more favor in assembling our beehive configurations. What you see here is a deep box for brood with a honey super on top, which consists of a shorter box with shorter frames. But more realistically, we're still probably a few months away from adding the honey box on top. What's more likely is that we're going to add another deep box on top of those base boxes we have. So there's another brood chamber for them to get their population levels up before producing honey and storing it for the winter. We strap everything down because the empty boxes have been flipped by the wind before. We got our beehives set up, and I think they're ready to be populated by bees. Like I mentioned before, I'm scheduled to pick up our nucleus colonies this week. It's Sunday now. I'm planning to pick them up Thursday or Friday. I need to get in touch with the beekeeper to coordinate a specific time. But as you can see here, we have a deep hive box with a half height one on top of it. I don't know the technical terms for all this stuff. I'm not really one to break down the anatomy of a beehive, but my basic understanding is that we put these little restrictors in there to try to keep mice out and to keep in the warmth, which is important because it's still going to be freezing here. And then we have a roof that can shed water. This one's galvanized and flat, but we have other ones that are gable roofs. The top box is for honey. The bottom one is for the brood. We're not putting in a queen restrictor, which is a special type of mesh grill, either made out of metal or plastic, that allows the worker bees to go up and down, but the queen would be blocked and stays in the bottom. And that would guarantee that the queen can't lay eggs and have brood up in the honey area. So that's for people that are really trying to raise bees for honey. And we might be doing that in the future, but for the first year, since we don't know exactly how much food they need to survive the winter, we're going to play it safe. Let them travel all throughout there, do whatever they need to do, and then next year we can maybe worry about expanding to more hives and then changing out our equipment. But that's it for now until I get the hives. Now I need to go try on my beekeeping suit, make sure I have knowledge about how to operate the smoker and the other hive tools, and like I mentioned, talk to the beekeeper and find out exactly what I need to do for pickup. So I'll see you back here later when I have the bees. It's a bit of an exciting time, but I don't have a lot of time because the sun is setting right behind me. I have our new nucleus colonies of bees behind us. They haven't been opened since I was at the beekeeper's property. They've been sealed for about an hour, 45 minutes to get home, and then I just kind of let them rest for 10 or 15 minutes while I had a quick dinner with Angie and Cedar. Now it's time to open this up. And since I have no experience with bees whatsoever, besides the few minutes I spent with the beekeeper today, I want to suit up, make sure I don't get stung, because I don't know how angry these bees are going to be after being jostled down the road. I've placed them exactly where their hives are going to be. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to remove the frames and put them into the wooden boxes, but they can acclimate to their location in these temporary nuke boxes. I'm going to suit up, open the door, let them out, so they can get a feel for the area overnight. This beekeeping suit is another product from Man Lake, along with the gloves. They had a sale recently, and I got one of their lower cost beekeeping suits, but it did have pretty good reviews. I made sure to get one that I could fit in and Angie could fit in, so we could take turns doing these tasks. And I opted for the fencing style mask because I don't really know the difference between them all. You can see I also have a smoker, which I got in a small kit from Amazon. And I'm trying my best to light those little fuel cylinders that it came with. It's kind of like maybe some compressed cardboard with some other fiber in it. But I couldn't get the lighter to light in the wind. So next time I try this, I'll probably use my little propane torch that's pressurized. Anyway, I should be pretty safe from being stung as long as I'm in the suit, so I'm not going to worry about the smoke any further. I just need to get this done real quick before night falls. I'm using my hive tool to pry up the little corrugated flaps that represent the door of these jester boxes. They're folded down, and you have to fold them up and hook them so they stay open.
I'm having a bit of trouble on the right box because the bees are coming through before I'm able to put up that corrugated kickstand to hold the door open. So they're coming out, but they're not coming out in the flow that they want to. It's a bit unusual, in my opinion, that I'm having such an issue opening that one, and that's the most active hive, whereas on the left, there's no bees even coming out of it. You can see in this close-up how the right-hand box has way more activity of bees than the left one. And I can tell you, as editing Ben from a few days in the future, that that left-hand colony is a lot more peaceful, and they don't really come out after me like the right-hand colony does. But I suspect that's just the luck of the genetics.
Well, it's the next morning, just getting up and getting ready for the day. See, the sun is low. Really beautiful sunrise this morning. What I need to do now, before the Easter festivities begin, is to deal with these portable nuke boxes. I think they're called jester boxes. And I let them stay overnight in the exact spot where the hives are going to be. That's where the hive entrances are going to let them in. So if there's any bees out there collecting resources right now, if they come back to the new boxes, they'll be able to get right in. But I also need to give them some food. I got all my stuff from Man Lake. This is a type of food. And then part of the secondhand beekeeping collection that I got involved some of these feeders. So I'm going to try to figure out how to install all of that. And I'm just going to set my phone to time lapse. You guys can watch what I'm up to.
This is my first time ever handling bees, but I got a lot of tips from the beekeeper that I purchased them from. He told me to make sure they have feed in the hive, and then to place all of the nukes that he sold me towards the center of each box. But he also said to put one brand new blank frame right in the center. If I recall correctly, the logic is that honeybees hate empty space in the middle of their hive, so they're going to draw the comb on that empty frame much quicker than if it was placed anywhere else. You can see I have an empty blank frame on the left and the right side of the box as well. That's just because I'm afraid of them filling up their hive too fast and not having anywhere to expand. And I think that's a fear that a lot of experienced beekeepers have when it comes to swarming. So I did that just to prevent swarming in the first week, and we'll see how quickly they draw out those combs. The same beekeeper that I bought these nukes from suggested that I supplement their food at least for the first week, even though the nectar flow has started up here on the mountain since spring is here. On the left hive, I have this white shallow-framed box. It's actually a feeder. It's lined with plastic, and there's a hollow chamber in the middle that's raised up above the liquid feed, and it has a screen over it that's supposed to allow the bees to drink the nectar without getting up into the nectar reservoirs. They are getting up, however, so I need to figure that out at some point. But the right-hand hive, I have this type of feeder that drops down into a hive box, but it takes up the equivalent of 2 frames. And since this hive is not full yet, it's a perfect time to use this type of feeder. It doesn't go down as far as these deep frames do, so it seems like it's designed for a shorter box, but it definitely fits in there for now. And I can tell you from experience so far that they are using this feed. They're all over those chambers, and they're filling up the comb very nicely with the new honey that they're making. Well, that concludes this week's video. It's an exciting time here on the homestead. We're getting chickens soon, we have our bees, we've got our fruit trees installed, we're preparing to get our crops going, all while we're thinking about the next step in construction for our house. So if you want to see any of that stuff, please subscribe to the channel, and we will see you back here next time on Kind Heart Homestead.